Hi, I'm just heading out into the slightly cold, rainy weather to meet Lee Hodgess. You might remember him from before. So he's doing a shoot of me today, probably not a very long one as the weather is awful, of me on my motorbike as I'm about to sell it. I know it should have been sold months ago. Every time I went to sell it, something weird happened and then it didn't end up selling. But this time I think it's going to sell. So we're just going to take some goodbye pictures and have a look at his Sony. Lots of Sony going on at the minute. So it'll be a great opportunity to catch up with Lee and see where he's at with his own photography. And yeah, can't wait to get started. See you in a minute. And I don't want to ride too far because I really don't want to crash the bike just before I'm going to sell it. I shouldn't even say that out loud. Oh, I haven't ridden this bike for ages. A bit nervous. It'll be fine. Hello everyone and Happy New Year. I hope you enjoyed this video. We had a very interesting time doing this shoot. I must say, not the most comfortable ride, and my hands got really cold. I stalled the bike a few times. One of those times was on a roundabout. It was really good fun. For all you bikers out there, I'll just give you a little sneak preview of the sound of this bike. Oh my goodness, the MV Agusta. Oh, she purrs. So I got really excited when I noticed Lee had his car lights on and he was shining them straight onto the bike, and I noticed that it created this beautiful shadow on the wall behind. It was genius. Do you know, we could have just gone nowhere else after this, literally just this wall and the bike and the lights, and to be honest that would have been job done. But we did carry on and we went to a couple of venues for this shoot. This shot that we took against the wall was incredible. I think the main challenge that Lee had was basically he's really set up for wildlife photography, so he shoots with a 70 to 200mm lens a lot, and so he's not really equipped for letting more light in. He goes out and he shoots wildlife in bright sunlight. So to use a 70 to 200mm lens at the end of the day when it was really starting to get dark, he had quite a challenge. So Lee's 70 to 200mm lens is a 2.8, and I've suggested, and I would suggest to anyone wanting to do any portrait photography, you really want to look for a nice portrait lens. A 1.4 would be absolutely brilliant for any portrait photography. As you guys that have been with my channel a long time know, my 85mm 1.4 and my 50mm 1.4 get a lot of use. So really highly recommend getting a lens that's going to let plenty of light in for situations like this, where you're out and about relying on natural light. So this trick that Lee did with the car lights was absolutely brilliant. Again, if we were doing this shoot properly, as it were, we'd have a hairstylist, you know, ready there and to sort my hair out, and we would have, I guess we would have waited for better light. We would have done it at a time where there was more light and a more interesting sky. The light was flat as a pancake. But we decided to go for it because we thought, do you know what, this will give us the challenges that we need to overcome, and it's always interesting. You always learn, you always have to think outside the box and find a way to create an interesting shot, and that is what Lee managed to do here with these car lights. Fantastic. Lee really likes the editing process, as I do too, so it was really nice that he did a few different versions. Love the like the blue and the warm orangey glow of one of his edits of this shot, and then he did some others as well, so it's nice to get a bit of a variety, which I always think is good if you're working for a client, to give them a few different edits of the same shot, just because their taste of filter might be different to yours. What I particularly like about the blue and the sort of yellowy orange version of this shot is that it's quite contrasty, so the shadow is really accentuated because it's got that lovely dark and the lovely light of the shadow. I've only got this file in a small format, which is why I've only put it small on the screen, because it's not high quality. So yeah, as you can see, the redder version is slightly more subtle in the contrast. Again, if you're being really picky, well, firstly, I actually forgot my screwdriver because I was going to take the number plate off the back of the bike, which would make it look so much better and more sporty. And I thought, well, I could edit that out, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it as it is. I didn't edit these shots. Lee edited them. They're his photos, so I'm not going to mess with that. So yeah, I was kicking myself a little bit about that. But also you would want to throw a little bit more light maybe on the front of the bike. Here we've got a lot of the light that's on the silver part of the bike, but that is what's giving us that beautiful shadow, so wouldn't really want to change that. Yeah, if light was no object, you'd get some really lovely directional lighting on other parts of the bike just to make it sparkle, wouldn't you? But to get this result with what we had, absolutely fantastic. I was absolutely chuffed to bits when I saw this picture, and just the way my hair decided to blow in the wind just quite perfectly at that moment in time was a very pleasant surprise. So the black and white version, Lee has cropped slightly closer in, just to bring in that connection with the bike. I think I quite like that. I used to fill the frame all the time. I used to really crop in tightly, and I've stopped doing that so much now, but it's just interesting to see a different crop of this shot, and it brings in the thirds, third of the bike, third of me, and then a third of the shadow. So that's just quite interesting to see a different crop. Also, I can sort of notice that my eye kind of flows around this image with this crop, so you're sort of attracted to the lightness of the hair, and then well, certainly with my eye, it kind of travels down my arm and then up the fork of the bike to the MV Agusta sign, and then background, and then kind of explores the shadow afterwards. So I feel like, as a journey for the eye, the cropped version, I don't know, my eye is more interested in kind of exploring the detail. There's like quite a lot of detail in the front of the bike and things, more so than the version that was not cropped in so tightly. My eye with that one kind of just skims over it. Yeah, so I love that. I love discovering these little things when just viewing an image, what your eye and your mind is seeing and perceiving. So this shot, I think Lee was really pleased with this, and I can see why. It's got a little bit of atmosphere to it. I think because he had to rely on editing because the light was just so low at this point. Can you see where it's been sharpened? And that looks great on my clothing. I quite like the detail that is brought out in the creases in my jumper. Personally, I'd probably tone it down a little bit, but I quite like that detail. But what it hasn't done any favours for is my hair. So where it's been sharpened so much, my hair looks like very, very strawy and rough. Can you see that? The other thing, which is I've always found quite a tricky one, is I'm perfectly straight and upright, but can you see how the wall doesn't have the straight vertical lines? Sometimes I would just leave it as it is, and on other occasions I would adjust the perspective in Photoshop just to straighten things up a little bit. Again, all I would say really is that the verticals, I mean, you could probably just crop and tilt this round a little bit just to straighten the wall up. I really like the tonal range in this shot. I love that you've got a nice pingy highlights and good midtones and good shadows, and you've got a lot of detail in this shot, so I really like that about it. Quite like the way that I'm standing. Just a shame about my helmet hair, isn't it? And it's interesting when you do a little bit of modelling, you really do realise how important it is to the client how good they look. Like, I think I've taken so many shots in the past, and I've said this so many times on the channel, the people that you're shooting for are going to want the pictures that they look good in. They're not necessarily going to be really paying attention to a lot of technical detail, so it's really important to get a balance, to get plenty of variety. I always show them on the back of the camera so that if something's not right with their hair or their makeup or the way they're standing, or they need to breathe in more, or they've got something that they're self-conscious about that is showing, whatever it is, like posture is a big one. Sometimes people can slouch forward with their shoulders, but they want to stand more upright and put their shoulders back and breathe in. It's all those little things that as a model you can't really see what's going on, so it's really handy to just show that person on the back of the camera. Lee's really good at doing this, and then it just gives them the option to adjust things. But yeah, as I say, whilst we as photographers are always kind of looking at the little tiny details of technical bits and pieces, if you're not working for or with somebody that's really knows their stuff and they're going to be looking for that as well, they are mostly probably going to be interested in how they look. So huge thank you, Lee. You did a great job. It's just amazing to see you going from your wildlife photography thrown into portrait photography, and you handle all the situations that I take you to really well. It's yeah, and we always have a laugh. So are you interested in getting some photography coaching? Would you like to take your photography to the next level, or perhaps learn something new? Just going to take this opportunity to share some of my work with you, and just share a bit of my experience in coaching. This was a spiritual retreat that I photographed. Oh, I had so much fun. Look at that window. And this is Callum. I trained Callum as a photographer. Honestly, it didn't take long for him to fall in love with photography, and he set up his business. He went on to do videography, and his business is now absolutely flying. He travels regularly to the south of France, photographing and doing the videography for super yachts, and it's amazing to see him doing what he loves on a regular basis. And this is something I've experienced a few times. I used to teach photography in college, so I wrote 2 courses for college, beginner's digital photography and then a slightly more intermediate one. And I had the pleasure of helping a few people set up their businesses, and I'm just really glad today to say that they're doing really well. So as you can see, my speciality is portrait photography, and this is what I love to teach the most. And it might be that you simply have quite a nerve-wracking job coming up that you'd like somebody to come along with you to, just as a bit of a backup, moral support, and perhaps some feedback at the end of the shoot on what I noticed that you perhaps could improve on. Or if you're just entering the wedding photography scene and you're a little bit nervous and you want somebody there that's quite experienced at shooting weddings, just to come with you, so you know that there's always going to be some shots, nothing's been missed, or you would just, again, like feedback on how you can improve, and just that moral support sometimes can give you real confidence in what you're doing. Just please give me a shout. I'll leave my website on the screen here. Would you like some help in the studio with your lighting? I'd love to come and help you experiment and find what works for you and bring a little bit of life to your photography. My coaching is always designed to really focus on where you want to go, where you are now and where you want to be and how you're going to get there. So not only will I help you with any photography progression you'd like to make as a beginner, I will also be reading between the lines and really getting a feel for you as a person, your life, your goals, your dreams, and just mirroring back to you what it is that you love and just helping you to home in on what you're meant to be doing, where you're meant to be. And of course, as you'll see from these outtakes, once we get to know each other, it's always a lot of fun. Hello, Lee!
Hello!
Yeah, it's good to see you again. It's been a while.
It has been indeed. Beautiful bikes.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, so just for the purpose of the video, just going to say the troubles that we've had are obviously low light, aren't they?
Yes, indeed. Lighting is the issue. We're trying to take photography out here now.
Yeah.
Miss early hours, and unfortunately trying to shoot right now is high ISO, low shutter, without a tripod.
Yeah.
Doesn't go well.
Yeah. I'm going to try and convince you to get a 1.4 or 1.2 lens.
I would love one.
Yeah. One day.
I've got the tripod, I just didn't bring it, but unfortunately,
no, but
light, we'll make it work.
Yeah, we'll make it work.
It would be a lot sharper.
Do you know what? Look how light it looks. Sorry to interrupt. Look how light it looks through this little baby.
Ridiculous.
I know.
But then if you do video on your phone, if you take a picture and do a video, the video is always brighter.
Yeah.
Take a still shot from it.
Oh, right, yeah. Oh, right, yeah, cool. Good tip. Right, so so we're just going to head off to one more location, yeah?